Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Diplomacy Timing Window, where the rules are discussed and our opinions don't matter. My name is Hungry Hippos.
I'm the Half-Heard.
I'm Kazadoom.
And before we start today, I just want to give everyone a reminder that the official Twilight Wars tournament registration deadline is coming up, September 24th. If you haven't already done so, make sure to submit your registration today. All details are in the Discord channel.
Yeah, and I guess we do have a pretty good turnout so far. So, we're hoping to get a few more. Definitely, if you're on the fence, make the call and sign up. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Commentating, criticizing, and watching Kaza own everybody. All right, why are we here? Today's episode is a debate. Titans versus Winnu.
Ooh, let's do it.
Yes. I think Titans win, so we're done now.
Yep. I think we're good. Good try.
No,
good try,
so today
Winnu disagree.
I am the objective judge of the debate, and in the one corner we'll have Half-Heard debating on behalf of the Titans, and on the other,
easy.
Kazadoom debating on behalf of Winnu. And I believe he comes off of a win with Winnu just recently.
Yeah, I got lucky in my game. After losing my home system, I pulled it out with random secret objectives.
And perhaps some context for this, the idea for this episode was, we had, if you haven't seen it yet, watch our episode 4 on the Titans of Ul, where we go into depth on why they're just OP and undefeatable. And then Kaza played a game as Winnu and thought, I think the Winnu could stand a chance.
They're as broken as Titans.
Yeah, so that kind of sparked a little bit of a debate internally, and we decided let's get into it. Let's see how we think that matchup would end.
Yes, we're pandering to Winnu, I think, is what the translation there is. All right, let's get started.
They need something after playing them in the base game. I mean, this is a horrible experience. So at least afterwards in PoK, you get something out of them.
That's true. They do leave a bad taste in your mouth in normal. So Gaza makes a good point. This is PoK, obviously, because Titans are involved. So let's start off. The first question of our 3-part debate will be, compare how each faction can hold or defend its home system and Mechatol Rex. And we'll start with Kazadoom with Winnu.
Well, I mean, Winnu Commander is just the most ridiculous thing. +2 to hit, especially on fighters and infantry, is extremely strong. It's easy to unlock. You just need to get to Mechatol to unlock it. At any legendary planet, Mechatol and home, you just hit mostly twice as good, actually. So it's really hard to take over systems where you can't take the ground combat.
All right, those were the opening remarks from Kaza. Half-Heard, Titans, how can they defend their home system and Mechatol Rex?
I guess before I get into that, I just want to clarify something with the commander of Winnu. Is that for space combat only, or is it all combat systems?
Every combat.
All right, I'll give you that is a little ridiculous.
Max hit on 4+, just saying.
That's pretty.
And you got stronger ridiculous fighters in your home system than Nalu. Now,
I guess. What I would combat that with is that sure, it helps as the attacker, but I think it's definitely stronger as the defender. You get there and you get your presence there. I think Titans, with their mobility, are going to be able to get to Mechatol faster. And, when it comes to defending the home system, their hero is obviously just pretty incredible, giving your home system just a space cannon on its own without anything. And it's super easy with your high resource values on that planet to just build, an insane amount of units and just make it impenetrable. So in terms of home system, I think that the Titans are going to come out on top. Mechatol, definitely seems like Winnu has a bit of an upper edge, but I guess the one thing again that I want to go back to is to say that, with the mobility, you can probably get there faster. And when the Titans get entrenched in a planet, it's going to be really tough to take them off. Modifiers or not.
I agree there. The only thing that I see a lot with Titans is that they tend to not get a PDS on their home system, which can be quite a pain for them. Because it can get bombarded. You don't have planetary shields with your heroed up home system.
Well, it's a simple fix. You just build a PDS there.
Yeah, but you already have so many on the board. You don't want to. But yeah, I agree. But Winnu already has it on their home system, and they also get it for free on Mechatol. So they're kind of PDS'd up wherever they need them.
Well, Titans get PDSs free everywhere. So
yeah, well, Winnu too. But I don't need to activate twice. I just need to activate once.
With a mech there.
Yeah, true.
Which limits you to 4 planets.
Per round.
Whereas the Titans, past round 1, are pretty much, producing a PDS building machine.
Yeah, but you can't get them on planets that are already explored, which Winnu can. So I can take over your planet and then gain a PDS there, or a space dock if I'm funny.
So let me insert myself into this. I want to try to focus on perhaps our home system. So if we're looking at the home system only as a way to hold and defend it, should you be in the lead, and it looks like with Winnu and Titans that's going to be the case. Who has the edge there, and why?
I think Titans have the edge. Like I said, with their hero, you're just, it's super simple to just get a ton of infantry down, and you got the space cannon just inherit to the planet. It's going to be tough to wrestle that away.
And Kaza, obviously,
you just can't win a space combat against 4 dudes that hit on 5+, or 6+, I think.
Be a little bit more specific. Which dudes are you talking about?
No, just ground forces and mechs in your home planet are impossible to win against. You need to bring at least double the amount of infantry to consistently win the fight.
Okay. And
and I just think you're never going to hit even half the amount of infantry that you're going to be able to commit to Titan system. It sounds like maybe a bit of a immovable wall meets the
I think this is
unstoppable
a
force.
draw because both factions are extremely good at holding their home system.
Okay.
I feel Titans tend to be spread out a bit more. Winnu tends to focus on certain maybe legendary planets more. So they probably control less space, but more concentrated on certain systems. Whereas Titan tends to spread out more and might be more open because of that. But if you want to defend your home system, you will defend your home system.
So Mechatol Rex, we have a situation where Winnu, when they get the Mechatol Rex, they get the free goodies. However, Half-Heard's making the argument that Titans will get there sooner. So who could hold Mechatol Rex? Kaza, you.
Well, if you're Winnu, you get +2 when you enter the system, basically enter combat into the system or gain control of Mechatol. You don't have to spend the influence, which for Titans might be a struggle depending on what their slice looks like. And then you gain a space dock and a PDS, which naturally protects you there as well. So you can't be bombarded. Somebody has to bring overwhelming forces to take it over. If you bring a mech as well, you get a space dock and two PDS there, which makes it super hard to actually engage on Mechatol. And as said before, you just need to bring some fighters with you because they hit nearly half a hit per fighter. So they're on 6+ on Mechatol. So the space combat actually is pretty hard to win if you have, let's say, a carrier, 2 PDS, and 2 fighters in that system. That's already 2 shots on the 6. From the PDS, then you have a carrier and 2 fighters hitting on 6s as well, which is, what is that? Better than cruisers. It's cruiser 2s basically. So 3 cruiser 2 equivalents on Mechatol. Ugh. It's not that easy to kill.
So, I mean, credit, I guess, where credit is due, right? You know, the Winnu obviously are geared up in PoK to be the Mechatol kings. So it's, you know, it's definitely, there's some strong points that Kaza you've made there, right? I guess in terms of a rebuttal, what I would say is just that the Titans do what they do best, right? Which is tons of ships with sustained damage and duranium armor. That's just going to make getting through them a pain. And then even if you do manage to get to the point where you're going to drop forces, you got to deal with PDSs and mechs with duranium and sustain. That is just, you know, how do you win that ground combat?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of situations recently where I just have to deal with 2 mechs with duranium armor. Like, guess I'm not gonna go down, because if I land 2 infantry and he hits me once, I can't win the combat anymore.
Yeah, I think that's, you know,
yeah,
there's nothing fancy when you're talking about Titans with Winnu, but you know, that's kind of the whole point, is that Titans are just, they just are who they are. And once they're down and they're, you know, committed to holding a planet, it's gonna be a really tough gambit to get them off.
That's
Excellent
I mean,
points for
especially
both of
since
you.
we're talking about Mechatol, you cannot use your sleeper tokens on Mechatol, so that's a definitely downside to that.
Does make it
ability.
more difficult for sure. And maybe that's the rare case where you're going to need, obviously, construction to help you out.
Yeah.
So in summary, it seems Winnu, if they get to Mechatol, they're holding it pretty strongly. Conversely, it's going to be hard to take the Titans home system. All right, so on to the next question. How well can each faction control their neighbors? How do they make them friends? Do they trade, defend? How do they deter entry into their slice? We'll start with Half-Heard.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a no-brainer. This is where you're going to see the Titans shining over Winnu. Kaza himself said earlier
trade,
on.
Absolutely. They're the best trade force in the galaxy.
Well, I mean, you said earlier on that you know, it's really dependent on, Winnu are really focused on Mechatol and legendary. So, you know, it depends. I guess if you have a lot of legendary in good positions, right, that'll help Winnu. But otherwise, the Titans are just all around better, right? They're going to be much better at getting their PDSs down. They have a lot more mobility than the Winnu, so they're going to be able to get to those systems early and make use of all the resources and influence from those systems early on, right? You can get to, I think we said 3 systems up to 2 movement away on turn 1, which is the complete opposite of what the Winnu can do turn 1.
No, you can get three planets. 2 of them can be 2 away.
So yeah, it's you know, they got a strong start with great mobility and great map control with getting their sleepers down early, which turn into their PDSs and mechs. And
that's the fun part about Winnu. You don't need those step in between with the sleepers. You just bring a mech and you plop down your PDS or your space dock where you land. So
they make it sound so easy, but how are you getting those mechs?
You got all the cash in the world. You're the richest faction in the game in round 1. You have 5 resources round 1.
I mean, Titans almost have that too, so
4. And if you take starving tools, you have even 6 resources available. So it's not, they are like the agent that gives you +2 to 1 build is pretty amazing, actually. You don't need to hold that much space with Winnu anymore, because you can just add add these little bonuses to your builds and get where you need to be. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Titans are probably more consistent in the early game. Winnu need a good partnership to get the resources, the warfare timing, maybe the tech timing to get where they want to be in round one.
I think you're also overestimating how quick Winnu can get those units down, right, to take advantage of what you're describing. Because I don't think you're really going to be able to get PDSs and mechs, you know, it's not something you're going to be able to do, I think, quickly in the first 2 rounds, the way the Titans will.
I mean, if you have 5 resources, which is a carrier and a mech. And if you pick trade or sell something or somehow get resources, you get 2 mechs round 1. Then you already can fly around building two PDS round 1 if you're lucky. So it's not impossible. Just needs more, like Titans, I would say, more consistent in building their stuff, but they build slower. But if Winnu gets a decent start, they can build up their PDS and space docks, don't forget about that, extremely quickly. In my game, I ran out of space docks and PDS mid-round 2. I mean, I had an extremely good start, but just to show off a bit how quickly it can go, you start with a space dock and a PDS. I placed Mechatol down, and then I think I had 3-4 mechs on the board and just covered everything I had with PDS and docks.
All right. That's a pretty strong argument for both sides. One, from the Winnu side, it seems like Kaza's relying on some good first round tactics, whereas Titans are consistently always going to get you those units to protect your slice and deter. So good argument, both sides. I'll leave the viewers to decide on who wins that one. Final question. This is where all the kind of the marbles goes. How easy can each faction score objectives? In PoK, there's a lot of different types. There's control, tech, spend, and locate objectives. So we'll start off with Kaza. How easy can Winnu score objectives outside of the simple Imperial, Mechatol, Rex ownership?
I mean, one thing to come back to, an aspect we didn't talk about, trade in general. You can trade a lot of stuff with Winnu because their faction PN is pretty useful in general. So that's also, I guess, a plus point versus Titans.
Well, but Titans commander, also keep in mind, gets trade goods whenever they're producing, right? So who needs trade?
No, but in terms of objective, I think the faction's actually pretty similar in what they can score. Winnu probably has the advantage in terms of scoring like the legendary planet objectives. Tech is probably pretty similar. Spend is probably in the Titan favored. The rest is pretty even, I guess. So I would say they have a similar ability to score objectives. One thing to point out for both factions is that building objectives are extremely easy to score. Like you want to see a stage 2 have 7 building structures on the board or have 5 structures outside your home system. That's like golden for you. If you see that, you did not get completely destroyed early game, you probably will win the game.
I mean, I'll agree with some of your points there. The structures objectives, I agree, is probably easy for both factions. And I'll even grant you that the legendary control is maybe to the advantage of the Winnu. But I actually disagree with the rest of your points because I think you're even contradicting yourself a bit. In our last point, you were saying that control of systems is not that important for Winnu. You just need to get your Mechatol and maybe hold a couple because they're so good at producing at generating resources outside of planet control. So I do think you're, maybe contradicting yourself there a bit. I would say that the Titans
No,
are
what
going to be
I
better.
want to say there is more that compared to the base game, you don't need to have Mechatol anymore, but you can play a normal game without Mechatol now. So yes, you're right. I was very Mechatol focused, but I don't think you actually need to be as Winnu anymore, which is really nice because you're not that like
But-
single-minded, dumb Mechatol Winnu faction anymore.
But one thing I do find, and I do think that the Titans will excel above Winnu, is that for control, when you're talking about your typical control objectives, whether it's planet traits or whether it's tech specialties, Titans are going to come out on top. And that's because these objectives, I find mobility is always key to being able to score these. Luck comes into it a bit, obviously, you want if you have stuff close to you. But generally speaking, you need mobility to make those happen. And that's where Titans are gonna shine.
But one thing here is, and that's very important for Winnu, is you always have Imperial at your disposal. So you can score them out of outside of the what's it called, status phase. And that's what makes it easy to score those objectives. Because you know that at some point in the game you just can say, oh, Imperial now, I'm good.
For those of us who are not in the know on this Imperial hack, can you explain it?
Yeah,
Kazadoom?
just elaborate a bit would be good.
So their hero is an action and says basically use any strategy card you want and grant anybody the secondary without spending anything, without spending a token, which you can also trade with. So you can just say, okay, do you want that? Do you pay me something for it? And I mean, you can harp on Titans being stronger throughout the game, which I actually agree that they're the stronger faction in terms of board presence and everything. But Winnu is just better at scoring points because at some point in the game, you can just say, okay, I use Imperial now. You don't need to pick the card. You can actually pick the Imperial card and use the commander, which means that you have Imperial twice in a round, which is just dumb. So for me, playing Winnu, it makes sense to just go for fleet logistics and blue in general because you need the mobility and maybe the carrier twos. Because you know that at some point you just want to fly to Mechatol, use Imperial right after that, so nobody can take it from you.
I'm asking for a friend. Isn't the hero something you can only use once?
Yes. But I mean, if you score a stage 2 objective once with Mechatol, that's 3 points.
A lot of points for sure.
And then you go into the status phase and you might have picked Imperial on top of it, being able to do the same thing again the same round. So I think the math, if you have stage 2 objectives out, you can score like 11 points in a round, theoretically, if everything goes perfectly for you. So 2 Mechatol, 2 stage 2, 3 secrets, something along those lines. Math is probably off, but it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's a tough that, yeah. So, I'll give that one as well. Obviously being able to just score Imperial, even if it's a one-time only, because it's a hero, that's a pretty huge ability. Right. And that's, you gotta give credit again where it's due. That's gonna be tough to compete against for sure. I guess just to, one thing I didn't get to was that just to say that, in terms of actually scoring, ability to score objectives, right? Titans also have a huge advantage when it comes to planet attachments, when it comes to tech specialties, right? Because of their scan link and their ability to just, pump out those attachments. I think no one can do it quite like the Titans do.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point.
Tech, you said, is even. I mean, I guess in terms of ability to get those 2 and 2s or 3, 2 in each, right? Yeah, you're probably looking pretty even.
Yeah, I mean, I also see Winnu mostly going red-blue.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, I think overall you'd probably find that, you know, Titans are going to have a better ability to score more objectives than Winnu would. But, you know, maybe offsets, just as you said, by the hero ability, which is the best ability for scoring.
Yep, it's pretty ridiculous because you're kind of never out of the game. Can just out of the blue score 3 points or 2 points, or 2 points is more realistic, but yeah. No, I think they're actually pretty even in general. I mean, the thing is, both Titans and Winnu, if you trade with them actively and they get good trades off, they have a huge advantage over the table.
You know, I'll definitely say, when you came to the table with this thought that the Winnu could stand against the Titans, I laughed at you off the bat, but you know, you've definitely put forward some good points, and actually sounds like a really interesting matchup.
What kind of debate is this? Actually, I have to agree from the point of view, obviously, that Titans are OP. These two factions seem to balance each other out when it comes to the three perspectives that we said today. So
makes me kind of sad that there's no 1v1 mode. That'd be something.
Well, there's probably some fan-made 1v1 thing going on somewhere that's probably hitting a codex 15 or something at some point.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
no, but I have to say, I mean, having both played Titans and Winnu, they're just both extremely fun to play, extremely unique, especially after playing a lot of base game factions. And yeah, it takes a lot of coordination from the table to actually bash down those factions if they get ahead early. So there's definitely a lot of commitment to wiping them off the table that's necessary to make you able to compete with them if they get off early.
I think that's a good place to leave it. Don't ever let either of these factions get carried away. All right. Thanks, Kaza and Half-Heard. I'll invite everyone who's made it this far in the episode to let us know in Discord what your thoughts are on these two factions, and if we've missed anything, and what if you think you know who's the better faction, let us know. Now, I think we've spent enough time stalling in this timing window, so let's hit the pass button and keep the game moving.